in a world where loyal companions await, one place stands as their beacon of hope. The Pet Resource Center of Hillsborough County, where you can adopt your very own superhero. Adopt a dog. Find your sidekick and unlock the power of unconditional love. Suit up, show up, and adopt today. For more information, visit hcfl.gov/pets.
So you can
go ahead, yeah, change your grip. There you go.
All right, so now twist it.
So you gotta open
Just to
it.
avoid like
Stop. All right, close it.
There you go.
And then we're gonna dig deeper down in.
Deeper in there, probably.
Yeah, deeper in.
let it cut all the way.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Stop.
Getting where you need to go shouldn't be a struggle. That's why Hillsborough County offers Sunshine Line, a transportation service for residents who need a little extra help. If you have no mode of transportation, you may qualify for Sunshine Line's door-to-door service based on age, disability, or income. For those who live in the Hart service area, you may be eligible for an income-based bus pass program. Sunshine Line's trained drivers provide safe, shared rides, helping you to and from the vehicle and making sure you're secured every step of the way. Scheduling is simple. Just call 813-272-7272 to see if you qualify and start your application process today. Sunshine Line is here to keep you moving safely, affordably, and with a smile. Visit hcfl.gov/sunshineline to learn more and get started today. Sunshine Line, Hillsborough's ride on the bright side.
Hi, welcome to the Commission on Human Trafficking. Today is September the 25th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And before we get started, the Commission on Human Trafficking has been established. A period of each of this meeting is to allow the citizens to speak. Anyone who wishes to speak virtually or in person during the meeting may do so by contacting the Commission's administrator, whose contact information is on the Commission's website on the county's webpage at hillsboroughcounty.org. All speakers who wish to speak virtually will be required to provide their name, email address, and telephone number. This information is being requested to facilitate the public comment process. The chair will call on speakers by name in the order in which the request to speak has been received. Prioritization on the first-come, first-served basis. All virtual speakers will be muted upon joining the meeting and will be unmuted after being recognized by the chair by name. The Commission respects the rights of citizens to express their opinions and concerns. However, the Commission requests that citizens present their concerns in a respectful manner to maintain a polite atmosphere where all individuals are respected. Up to 3 minutes are allowed for each speaker. And we'll call the meeting to order.
HTV, do we have anyone signed in online for public speaking?
No, ma'am. Nobody has signed up.
Okay, thank you. We do not have anyone signed up for public speaking today.
Perfect, thank you.
For public comment, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And I will go ahead and call the roll. Chief Judge Sabella has contacted me. He has a conflict, so he will not be here today. And as you know, Gina Justice has taken another position. Her position has not yet been filled. Commissioner Cepeda.
Present.
Misty Halsey.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chair Groover Skipper.
Present.
Member Dickerson.
Present.
School Board Member Lynn Gray has also advised that she has a conflict and she will not be here today either. Officer Pascali. Major Bauman.
Present.
Thank you. Member Molinyecki. Chair Rose.
Present.
Thank you. Detective English.
Present.
Thank you. Member Feist.
Present.
Thank you. Bureau Chief Mobley.
Present.
Thank you. Member Petrolak.
Present.
Thank you. Deputy Chief Boulos.
Present.
Thank you. Detective Aguiar.
Present.
Thank you. Captain Carlisle. Here. Thank you. Member Williams.
Present.
Thank you. And Visit Tampa Bay has also said that they contacted me and they also have a conflict and will not be attending today. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
That is wonderful news to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And since we do not have public comment, we'll go ahead and do a review and approval of the minutes recap. Or would you like to go ahead and do the service certificates and presentations by Commissioner Cepeda?
That is totally up to the commissioner. Would you like to do it now or after the approval of the minutes?
After we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
So can we get a vote on the minutes of July 24th?
I move to approve the minutes. from
Thank you.
July.
Second.
Was that Member Petrolak?
Yes.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Commissioner Cepeda?
Thank you. So I have a letter here signed by Chair Ken Hagan on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, and it's for Colonel Robert Rodriguez, and it reads, "Dear Colonel Rodriguez, one of the greatest gifts a person can give is of his or her time. You have demonstrated your concern for our community by having faithfully served on the Commission on Human Trafficking. The experience and wisdom you brought to the commission were invaluable to your fellow commission members and improved the quality of their decision-making. Please accept my sincere thanks and appreciation for your many hours of service. Enclosed is a certificate expressing the Board of County Commissioners' appreciation for your unique contributions to our community." And I have the certificate of appreciation presented to, it's for Colonel Robert Rodriguez, but receiving will be Major Chris Bowman on his behalf. I also have this, is in appreciation for Corporal Alyssa Sablon also, and receiving for her, will be Captain Carlisle, receiving for Corporal Sablon.
Thank you, Commissioner Cepeda. So at this time, I would like to introduce Tammy and Jamie Kent. They are from the No More Foundation and will be presenting today on their incredible foundation and the work that they are doing.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Kent.
My name is Tammy Kent, and like Connie said, we are the co-founders of the No More Foundation, and it is an honor to be with you guys to present and share about the work that we do. Our mission is to move people to action, to serve the poor, orphans, kids in foster care, and human trafficking victims. We respond to the connection between poverty, vulnerability, and exploitation through training, outreach, and storytelling events. The No More Foundation connects people to care for the most vulnerable, and we believe that community transformation is found at the intersection where awareness and mobilization meet. I'm going to turn it over right now to Jamie and have him share a little bit about our why, because yes, we do this work, but what prompted it, what keeps us going. So Jamie, take it away.
I'll just echo what Tammy said. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with you all. What you do individually and collectively in this space is commendable, and it's noticed by a community that cares deeply. So thank you for what you do. It means so much. And like Tammy said, it is personal. When I was, if you'll indulge me just for a second, I just want to tell you a quick story. When I was 10 years old, I was removed from my home. My brother, he threw one of these in my face, a black trash bag, and he said, "Pack your things, he can't hurt us anymore." And behind him comes a police officer and helps me collect my things, and as I'm ushered up the stairs to go out the door, I see my mother in tears and my stepfather in handcuffs. Then I was just put in the back of a car and never to be in that small little Midwest town again. We were driven into the city with people who stepped in to take care of us that I'd never met. But for some reason, some unique reason, I felt safe in that moment. Now, that's my story, and I wish I could tell you that it got better from that point. But that's not the end of it. My mother, she worked diligently to get us back, but she was a single woman working at the mall, no college education, doing her best to take care of 3 kids. Some days we didn't have food. Some days we lived in our car. Some days we lived in what's now classified as Section 8 housing. even my sister's drug-addicted boyfriend's houses sometimes. What I've learned in my adult life is that where you find poverty, there's vulnerability. And where vulnerability exists, that leads to exploitation. I lived that during my childhood. Before the words human trafficking were ever a terminology for us to understand or wrap our minds around, I watched it play out in front of me in real time as my sister would be taken advantage of for someone else's gain. I also equally saw the impact of just one person stepping into care. My brother and sister, we made it out. Obviously, I'm here today, but there are many who don't. And that's the why. That drives my passion. It drives everything that we do to help connect people to care for those that are in vulnerable places. And I'm standing here today because someone stepped in to care. And so I want to thank you for each of you and what you're doing in that space.
So as Jamie just described, we see the problem. And many of you in this room know the statistics I'm about to share. Greater Tampa Bay leads the state. And when I say Greater Tampa Bay, I mean Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas in the number of kids in the foster care system. Florida's number 3 in the nation for the number of calls to the human trafficking hotline. And of course, we see that correlation when we realize that 60% of U.S. human trafficking victims have a history in the foster care system. What we see as the solution is to connect the community to care. And we do that in a few different ways, through awareness events and trainings, adding capacity through housing, and providing restoration through survivor support. To date, through our anti-trafficking and orphan foster care initiatives, 6,074 people, community members, have responded to foster, adopt, advocate, and serve vulnerable children. 134,551. I know that's an exact number, but as of last week, that's where we're at. We've had 134,551 people trained. Professionals, educators, students, taking our free human trafficking awareness training. And the solution, we see that in the individuals across our community from every space and every sector. We've had 20,745 volunteer hours given to serve those in need. And what does that look like specifically in results? Over 473 survivors of human trafficking have found safe housing with the help of the No More Foundation. In the span of 2 years, we've added 4 homes across the Tampa Bay area, and through our strategic collaborative partnership with Created, we opened the first survivor home in Pinellas County in spring of 2022. In spring of 2023, we opened an additional home in Hillsborough County. In spring of 2024, we transitioned a survivor home to Pasco County, allowing us to span all the counties in Greater Tampa Bay. And on June 26th of this year, we opened our newest home in Hillsborough County. And 2 days later, it was filled. I'm also excited to share that we've just gotten the approval to move forward with a 5th home that will be for women that are exiting the program, these healing and restoration programs as they transition. And so that's going to be coming online in the next couple of months as well. Those numbers represent a 400% increase for human trafficking survivors to experience life-changing interventions through our supported partners. And this is what it's all about. We had a young woman who came through the program, and after she exited and was reunified with her precious little girl, their first Christmas that they celebrated at home, we were able to come alongside with food and Christmas presents. And on December 26th at 8 a.m., I got an email that said, "You helped make this possible for my little girl. I can't thank you enough for your help. Restoring my life after being a victim of human trafficking has been a journey. She is my reason and God is my strength." And it's messages like that like Jamie's, stories like this that drive us to continue to move forward. Because we do believe that everyone can do something, whether it's meeting needs, volunteering, attending a training, hosting a training, or becoming an advocate. We want to see our community empowered to step up and make a difference for the most vulnerable. Because back to what Jamie shared earlier, we know where we find poverty, we find vulnerabilities. Where those vulnerabilities exist, whether it's homelessness, addiction, larger number, the numbers of children removed due to abuse, neglect, and abandonment. Where those vulnerabilities exist, exploitation occurs. And we want to see the whole community step in and say, no more, not on my watch. And so that's why we're here, and we're grateful again for the opportunity, and we would love to answer any questions you guys might have.
I just thank you, Tammy and Jamie. I've had the pleasure of working with the No More Foundation, even serving on their board until recently. So I'm a little biased, but just thank you for the work that you do. It's just incredible how your territory continues to expand and helping the victims and survivors in Hillsborough County and beyond. So thank you. And thank you, Jamie, for every time I hear your story, it just gets me. So thank you for the courage that you have to continue to share your story, because it does help others step up to the plate.
If I may, Dottie, I just want to say thank you for the legacy that you've paved here in this community. I hope that we make you proud and can stand on your shoulders to make a bigger difference in our community. So thank you for what you've done in paving the way for the past 40 years. It's amazing, and we're grateful for you every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a question. First of all, thank you, my friends, for being here. And yes, Jamie, thank you so much. And like Dottie said, every time you share your story, not only do I learn just a little bit more, but it also, well, survivor to survivor, hello, my friend, but it also just drives our why, right? I think for each and every one of us, even in this room, because we all hear these stories, all the time. But it's also beautiful, and I'm not sure if that's the right term, so I apologize, to hear a man stand up in front of us with such vulnerability. Because you hear it from us women all the time, right? But to hear a man, with that vulnerability. So thank you. Thank you for that. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the training that you are doing with the Children's Network, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. We were a part of the Safe Haven project that started back in May of this year, went all summer long, and actually last Friday was the finale of the project, the 3-month project that we had done. We started off training all the kiddos at the Joshua House, and then training the sets of team that are there on site with them. It was really unique and beautiful. We actually had a young woman that, because of the survivor voice in the room, was able to step up and speak, and we were able to wrap around her with some mentorship opportunities. We then facilitated and hosted 2 community-wide trainings, not only for the foster parents, but for the community at large. And it was neat to see the mix of people in the room and the response. Again, bringing the survivor voice is so important for us in those moments, because this can all be just a topic, but until there's a person standing in front of you telling you, it doesn't hit the same. And so it was really engaging. And then last week we did an all-day 8-hour training at CNHC with case managers, foster licensing specialists, and it was remarkable. We were able to dive into the impacts of trauma. We were able to bring in a panel of experts, including law enforcement and DCF, to really answer some questions and help them see how we can work together. Because again, the message is always collaboration is key, and if we can collaborate, we can do so much more. So it's been wonderful partnering with them. We're also in the process currently of talking to Guardian ad litem, not just locally but statewide, to come alongside, because we see the value in empowering these young people at risk. If we can train them to spot it in their peers, but then also train their mentors or their safe, trusted adults to walk alongside them, because we know that when we listen to information and we hear, especially as teenagers, our brains aren't fully formed yet, right? We only hear in bits and pieces, but if we can train the safe and trusted adults that walk alongside them, we can really empower them, not just to protect themselves and their peers, but their community. And that really puts them in that position of being that, strong survivor, right? It keeps them from falling prey to more exploitation. So we are excited about some future partnerships like that and would love to discuss more.
So, money aside, what would be your greatest need to continue your mission to grow your enterprise?
Thanks for that question. Our greatest need is one of the things, there are two things that we're trying to do in the gaps is education, like Tammy just identified. We know that when you have an informed population, they can make informed decisions about this issue. A lot of people don't have a full, well-rounded understanding of what human trafficking is and how to respond to it. So it's our mission to want to educate as many people as possible. And we are providing a lot of that education in spaces, in different places. The other one is that's on the preventative side. The other one's more on the restorative side, and that's housing for survivors. When we were in Tallahassee last year, we were talking to some of the legislatures, and through the new certification that's happened of housing here in the state of Florida, one of the first in the country, as a matter of fact, that we identified there's really only 97 beds throughout the whole state that support long-term support services for survivors. And we're woefully short of that, being such a dense population of people where there's a lot of trafficking happening. We need more beds. And so that's one of the things we're trying to address, and we're getting creative about it. Tammy mentioned that Fifth Health coming online. That's coming online because just a generous individual said, he buys properties around the city, and he's literally just letting it be used for these services, no cost, no charge. And that's monumental. So we're finding creative ways to do that too. And so housing is a big one.
Mm-hmm. And then I'll just add one more thing, and that's people, right? We need people. We need people to step into all of these spaces, and back to the whole idea, everyone can do something. Regardless of your age or phase of life, whether you're a young mom or, empty nester, wherever you are, business professionals, everyone can do something. I think most people just don't know what to do. So helping them connect the dots and see that there's a place for them in these kinds of stories, that there's something that they can do that doesn't always look like money. Sometimes it's influence. Sometimes, it's just saying, I know we were talking earlier and Lisa had talked about, hearing that there was a need for a luggage, for kids, and just telling someone, I'm doing this, all of a sudden that influence means, we're able to meet the needs tangibly. So yeah, obviously people, resources, outside of finances, those resources, because we know the creative opportunities are out there. It's just letting people know what that looks like.
So obviously a lot of times when we talk about human trafficking, females are the most focused. Bringing his story into this, what is it looking like for y'all for males, for housing, young men, things of that nature?
Right. I would say across the country, we've actually had a lot of people, I've had a lot of conversations like this recently, and I want to say throughout the entire country, the number of homes for men is less than 5. That seems crazy. We know that that's not the case, but we also don't see men identifying in the same way, in the same numbers. Now, I know from the foster care side of things, there is a huge push, and we have an awareness event that we take to the communities to really help, break open the box that human trafficking looks one way, and we've got men on the stage and kids, really identifying, but it is one of those things where helping increase the number of safe foster homes. So if that young man is under 18 and he is identified that there's a safe place, we know healing happens in homes. It happens in relationship. And honestly, I would prefer that we have more of those safe foster homes because there's so much more restoration that can happen one-on-one than when you're in a group setting. It's just there's so much trauma being dealt with. So our goal is to raise the number of safe foster homes for those that identify, but then continue to, again, just like you said, begin to tell people. You know, I know there have been attempts to have homes for young men in the past, and they are not here anymore because there weren't enough. And so we've got to figure out what that missing link is, and it is maybe that vulnerability piece, bringing men into situations where boys and others can identify. One of our last community awareness events specifically focused on human trafficking, we had 3 men come up afterwards and identify that they had been victims of exploitation. It was the first time, and I was so incredibly moved because that's a brave, courageous step. But we believe that the more we talk and the more that we invite people in, the more we'll see that happen. And we, of course, want to be there to help provide those restorative services. But we need to see, I think, a little bit more of that vulnerability. But I appreciate the question.
You talked about DCF also. How have they taken that as far as you guys coming in and being partnership, or at least allowing you guys to come in and kind of be a part with them?
Honestly, we have a really great relationship with DCF from the state level down. Care Portal, you know, is one of our statewide partners. Again, Guardian Ad Litem is one of our statewide partners. So as we're going throughout the community, I would honestly say that when you have an event and 120 people are there and 80% of the people put their name on the line to do something, it starts to change. People begin to go, okay, there's something to this. And we are seeing that. This last year, specific to foster care, we did 8 events, and the average was 75% of the people in the room were moved to act and get connected. And again, not to us, but to the many organizations, whether it's Better Together, Safe Families, Guardian Ad Litem, A Door of Hope, I mean, the state agencies, you know, and that's what's moving the needle. So we have a really great relationship with them in that perspective, I think.
And one more question.
I just wanted to add, just to make sure that everybody was aware, so the training that they did, that was part of this commission's contract with Children's Network. So that was because of you guys that they've been able to do that additional training this year, which has been wonderful to be able to talk directly with those kids, you know, in care, so that they can help identify too in their own situations. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you very
Everything that
much.
you do and for being with us today. Thank you. So at this time, did you want to say something, Di?
Well,
I saw you lean in.
no, I just wanted to recognize Lindsay, who's here. She's with Created, and she does amazing work. So Lindsay, it's wonderful to see you. So I just wanted to recognize her. Okay.
Did you see that body language, right? She leaned in. I was like, oh, she wants to talk.
We know each other too well.
All right. So, okay, we got it. All right. So this time I would like to go ahead and do chair report, and I'm going to kind of roll a few things in together, if I may. One of them is going to be, of course, about our fiscal year 26. I'm going to kind of roll in the steering committee report. If it's in the packet, Lisa, I apologize. I don't see it in this packet, and I left my steering committee report with all my notes at home, so I apologize. But I do have a chair report that I wrote, so I hope that it covers all of it. So again, I'm going to apologize ahead of time, okay? I want to start off with really acknowledging each and every one of you. You know, these last few weeks have been a lot. And it's been a lot in the sense that, you know, we've had some budget concerns that have come up. We've had a lot of work in the background. You know, we've had commissioners that, you know, have stepped up and have really walked alongside of us. You know, we've had staff. Thank you to our staff that have stepped up. And, you know, there was numbers that had to be pulled, and just, there was a lot going on, okay? Just going to say that. And so I want to just really thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you also that came out to the meeting last week. Some of you were able to speak on our behalf. Some of you we know are not allowed to do that because of the positions, you know, that you hold. But you know what? You still showed up, right? You were there. You still showed up. Some of you came. You signed up to speak, but we ran out of time. So I apologize for that. I know what that's like. But again, thank you. Thank you for showing up. And then there was a lot of you that showed up in so many different ways. So many ways that on the surface, no one knows, but we know behind closed doors how you showed up. Your presence and your voices really did make an incredible impact. It was very clear to the commissioners that this commission and that our community stands behind the incredible work that we do. And I and Dottie, we can't thank you enough. The good news, right? The good news is that we did receive money. It might not be what we originally went in and asked for, but we did, right? We walked out with our $267,000. We walked out with our $100,000, that was the carryover. And again, thank you, Lisa, because Lisa had to do a lot of work in the back end. I don't understand all that paperwork, right? But there are certain paperwork that she had to make sure that was done so that that $100,000 could be carried over for us for our fiscal year 2026. And then I'm sure by now you've all heard that we have an additional $133,000, right? So we have $500,000 to work with for the fiscal year 2026. We have a lot of work to do. We want to really zone in as quickly as possible. What are we going to do with this $500,000? Because what we don't want to happen is we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where we're like, all right, we only have this amount of time, and how do we spend our money, right? And so as we start to move forward with all of this, right, one of the things that was requested, right, from the Commission on Human Trafficking was to provide a semi-annual report, and that is in front of the BOCC. Part of the reason for that is to help track some of our outcomes. And it's not so much about, what are you all doing? It's really to track the outcomes and the impact of the incredible work that we are doing. But more importantly, the incredible work that the service providers, because we're kind of like passing through a lot of this, right? That the incredible work that our service providers that are doing, such as what No More shared with us, right? The training that they did with the Children's Network. Right? Some of the things such as our 3 priorities that we had, right? Foster care training, survivor support, Don't Buy at Tampa Bay, emergency housing, so many of these things that are essential to our county's response. Finally, they asked that the staff look into some of the different long-term solutions, including what kind of partnerships can we create? So I'll give you an example. We had our training. August the 22nd. It was absolutely phenomenal, right? And you have some of the information in your packet. That training was a partnership. It was a partnership with BJA out of Washington, D.C., and then it was a partnership, right, with Missy with Sail of Freedom and with the State Attorney's Office. What an incredible day of training that we had, but we were able to do it also because of the partnerships that we have. As we move forward into our fiscal year 26, our task now aligns with this funding and within our strategic plan, making sure that every dollar advances our priorities in prevention, protection, and in placement. And today I'd like us to focus on how do we allocate those resources? And how do we do it that it's most effectively? Because how do we really demonstrate strong outcomes? Because we do now have semi-annual reports, and we want to really make sure that we build a very strong case for permanent funding. Thank you. Any questions about anything at all before we start to move forward? And Commissioner Cepeda, thank you so much.
Yes,
for
thank you.
everything.
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to add that so the last couple of years since I've been in office, I've been adding to this commission on human trafficking additional funds, $300,000 one year, $400,000 another year. But my concern is, like in the past, if a commissioner did not give additional funding for their flag items, there were no additional funds for the Commission on Human Trafficking. And given the fact that the flag money for the commissioners were cut to nearly half. So my concern is for the future that we would have recurring funds. And so I originally wanted more, but I'm not the only one that votes on that board. There's 7 commissioners. And so, but we were able to get the $500,000, so we will have $500,000. So that's a good thing. We know what we have right now to work with. And, you know, as Chair Rose mentioned, that we will have the semi-annual reports that will come before the Board of County Commissioners, but that's a good thing also. It gives, we know we're going to plan in advance, have everything ready, and I'm excited, happy about it. You know, I mean, I think it's a good thing. So, you know, thank you.
And Lisa, sorry. I got a little
Yes, ma'am.
tongue-tied. Lisa, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Lisa put this together, right? And it is absolutely phenomenal. It's that she created certificates, she put together the bios of who the speakers are, and everyone just walked out with how incredible the training was, how professional the training was. And so again, thank you that we know it was a lot of work. It was very impactful. And we are looking forward to what comes back from the evaluations. And next, when do we get to do this again? We have a couple of questions that maybe we'd like to address and just kind of put out there and see what comes back.
If I can say, while you're thanking me,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
would be remiss in not recognizing the contribution, the very large contribution of Mr. Parkinson from our management and budget grants.
I was just
Criminal
about to ask
Justice
to say
Office.
that, yes. Yes.
Without Rob's assistance, not only at these meetings monthly here at the full board and at the steering committee, but he went above and beyond. 3 of his staff were in attendance. 3, or was it 4?
3.
4 of his staff were there. They had the table set up. They logged everyone in. They handed out the name tags, the certificates for the credit hours for the legal training. Rob, out of his own pocket, not out of the county budget, out of his own pocket, purchased beverages and snacks for everyone who attended. And also Visit Tampa Bay, who they had a conflict and could not be here today, but their generosity supplied lunch for everyone who desired to stay for lunch in between the 2 sessions on that day. So this was a team effort. This was not just something that I put together on behalf of you all. Connie, Chair Rose and Vice Chair Skipper in their contributions with the BJA application and having Mahmoud there to speak also talks to the men and boys. He was a victim himself and now is a successful attorney in Washington and was contracted to fly here and give that part of the training. And if it wasn't for the relationship that Chair Rose has with the state attorney's office and with Ms. Peters, for her to come and do the local training and really talk about the mindset and the even down to the chemicals in the brain that change when you're a victim of and you're trafficked, and doing that interviewing piece for the training was phenomenal. So team effort. Rob, thank you so very much, really.
And Lisa, and thank you, and Rob, we were tag teaming here. So I was not trying to do all the thank yous myself. So we have kind of a tag team going here. But what I want to just very clearly speak to about all that, and thank you again, Lisa, is that collectively together, we are working very diligently on creating these public-private partnerships, right, as we move forward. And so this is kind of the start of what it looks like as we start to build even more of these relationships. Dottie?
Yeah, well, are we ready to, I guess, get into some of these questions? Of our 3 priorities, foster training, the Don't Buy It campaign, and emergency housing, our question that we really need to focus on is what should we focus the most immediate funding on in fiscal year 2026. So those are our three priorities that we identified in our strategic plan. So we don't want to be behind the 8 ball again. And I want to mention Ashley, too, who's not here, how much work she did to help with these reports. But so what, in everyone's opinion, should be the most immediate focus of where we spend our money in fiscal year 2026 of those three priorities, because that's what we identified: the foster training, the awareness campaign, and emergency housing. Those are our three. So any thoughts that anybody has?
Just an initial thought, yeah. I think it's impossible almost to prioritize them, but if push came to shove and I was forced to, I'd say housing. It would appear to me that we have a real housing dilemma at all levels, men, women, children, everything else. So I think that, you start solving that, and I think you solve a lot of other problems that underlie it.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Anybody else? You look like you want to say something.
Well, what I want to mention before anyone speaks, sorry, is that if you're thinking, oh, it means the same folks that have been funded, okay, we're talking about the category. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. Okay, go ahead.
I guess the question that I would have is, you look at the priority, is do any of them feed the other? So if we do the foster care training, but we don't have the housing for them to go to, or as we look at, and based on just the reports that we received, understanding what is the biggest need that we have right now in our community that we're serving, and then understanding how all of those things are married together so that we strategically plan, and then understand the calendar, their calendars is when they're coming up. When do they anticipate opening the next house? So should we already be understanding our partners that we're collaborating with so that we prioritized based on being a support for them as opposed to just picking it out based off of what's written there on the paper?
And if I might ask, when you speak, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Rosa Webster, representing the Commission on the Status of Women.
Thank you very much.
Alternate.
That's not just for me, that's for the record.
Celeste Williams. I agree. I mean, coming from where I'm coming from, just the lack of placements, and not necessarily homes. I mean, we need foster parents. I think I see a lot of people even going, how would I become a foster parent? Am I bound to take any foster child? So I think a lot of that is training and awareness too, and we just need foster homes. I mean, just coming from where I see working with minors and in the system, just the lack of placements. So I mean, that's where I would come from, is just seeing the lack of absolute minimal placements, foster homes, group homes, bed space. But I also know it's an issue with the adults also.
Detective Tony Aguirre, Tampa Police Department. Just going to touch on kind of what we talked about in some of the prior meetings, is this kind of program that we started where we provided extra training and funding for foster families that house specific victims of human trafficking, as well as the stipends we provided to the children themselves. I think we should prioritize that going basically in the future. It appears to be a real force multiplier. If we can stabilize kids, we're going to have less victims of human trafficking, both as juveniles and as adults. I can tell you from an investigative standpoint, just today we had a Tampa police case where the guy was convicted of sex trafficking a minor, and he was sentenced today to 24 years in prison. Say on a side note is that victim is the same type of children that we talk about in these meetings. She was removed from her mom, had a very tough childhood. I mean, she's still a young adult now. She was actually impregnated by the suspect. She's had 2 kids with him, including one when she was a juvenile. So now we have our victim having kids Those kids are not with our victim. They're currently in the foster care system themselves. So we have this situation where it just kind of multiplies because we didn't stabilize her when she was young. She now has kids that our community has to stabilize so they don't end up in the same situation she does. So when I look at our priorities, I think that's one of the things that we should definitely focus on, because if we could stabilize the kids when they're young, we won't need housing for them when they're adults. So I think there are things we can do today that will continue to have good results and success in the future, even though we may not see it or know about it. You know, if we can make sure we stabilize some of these children now, we won't have some of the problems tomorrow that we're trying to deal with today.
Good, and I think that goes hand in hand with what Ms. Webster was saying too. You know, how does one impact the other? And let's go the one that's, you know, the ones that are going to bring the most impact in the community. So, yeah.
I would also note, as I'm sure everyone's aware of this, there's a bunch of organizations that are trying to tackle the issue with housing with adults. It's much easier for you know, charities and private organizations to help in that space. It's much harder for organizations to help in the space with children, because you have to have these ties with the Department of Children and Families, and we're talking about a lot of kids that are literally wards of the state. So with that being said, if we have the ability to kind of solve some of those problems as a, you know, as a commission, I think we should focus on that. We can divert some of our energies to supporting some of these other organizations through the outreach, through, you know, the other things. Because like I said, they're doing work that it's much easier to get involved in as opposed to trying to house the, you know, this target population I talk about, these kids that are really vulnerable to exploitation, that kind of thing.
Any other discussion on that? I mean, I think it's pretty clear that that probably should be one of our top focuses. The foster care training. And, you know, what about the other two? Awareness and then emergency housing. If we had, well, I guess we need to work on all three because those are what's in our strategic plan. But I guess let's talk about emergency housing, I guess, if there's no other discussion right now about the foster care. Lisa?
I did want to bring that up and ask that question. So those three things were part of the approval from the Board of County Commissioners. So those are the things that you'll be funding in fiscal 26, which is just starting in a couple of weeks. And so that kind of decision has been made, but as you said, it's the categories, not the particulars of how that funding will be distributed. That is still an open question for the commission. The RFQ for the emergency housing vouchers with supportive services is still in process, which is why we asked for the $100,000 to carry over from the year before. This $100,000 is in addition to that, from what I have deducted. I will have to dig down a little deeper and be sure, but that would mean, since the RFQ has not been published, we could have that at $200,000 rather than the one. Does that make sense?
Yes, I hope you're correct.
I
That's
hope I'm
wonderful.
correct, too.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure you
yes.
are, but yes.
I'm hoping. So I'll dig a little deeper, because this just happened last week. I have not had the opportunity to discuss this with management and budget, to drill down into that particular question. But I will get the answer to that and let you know. And just wanted to put that out there so that we were worried that with only $100,000, it would be hard for an organization to respond with all of all of the things that are on the wish list in the RFQ. There's a lot of things that we would like to see but aren't required, such as something that HCSO actually brought up when I met with them regarding the language in the RFQ was many times victims have pets. They have a dog or a cat or an iguana or something, and it's the only thing they have that loves them unconditionally and doesn't hurt them. And they would rather go back to their trafficker than give up their pet. So when we say housing, we would like to have that housing be pet-friendly. So if we're putting them, if it's a voucher for a hotel, there are lots of hotels out there right now that are pet-friendly hotels. But if it's a bed in a facility, then where is that pet going to go? And from the research that I've been able to do across the country, this is not unusual, and it's very hard. And there's only, what I could see is like 2 or 3 organizations that cater to caring for the pets of people in recovery. And recovery is a, very big term. So I think having additional funding in that category on that RFQ would certainly help. But again, that's a wish. That's not a requirement that the respondent has a relationship with a pet care friendly facility, but it would be nice to see.
CASA in St. Pete has a program. So if someone is coming into their residential program or shelter and they have an animal, they actually, I don't know who they have it set up with, but maybe it would be in our best interest to reach out to them and maybe try to find out some information so that if someone responds to the RFQ and has questions about it, maybe we could do a little bit of homework.
Well, so once the RFQ gets published, there is a cone of silence.
Yes.
So none of you, any of you, can speak to someone, an agency who is going to respond to that RFQ. You cannot ask questions. You cannot answer questions. You cannot point them in a direction. It is a cone of silence. There is no talking to anyone. They can talk to procurement staff, but that's about it. So to take your suggestion, if you're watching this broadcast and you are thinking of responding to the RFQ once it goes out, you might want to reach out to CASA directly. I'm glad you brought that up so I could put that on the record.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. Good.
No, along the same lines, but yes and no. I know there has always been an issue with women in particular not wanting to go into residential because they have children, and if they don't want to leave their children. So Misty, I don't know if you want to speak to that, and if, I know that involves DCF, I'm sure. So, that's been a huge issue for 40 plus years that I've been doing this work, and there still are not many places at all, I don't think really anything in Hillsborough County that will have, a victim survivor bring their children to live with them in a shelter or a residential space. So, Misty, I hate to put you on the spot, but I think you are very knowledgeable on this, so.
Thank you, Dottie. We all know that there was a bunch of funding cuts this past year. One of the organizations that had filled in that gap had been United Way of Pasco County, that had transitional housing where they would accept women with children. We have located a couple of programs that do assist women with children. They're not here in the state of Florida, but one is Garden Gate Ranch in Iowa that will take children under the age of 2, and they can stay up to the age of 4. And then another one is the O'Connell House, which is out in Boston. So a lot of times when we do have moms coming to us, but I think one of the gaps is, and I just have to use a personal story. I apologize, Tony, I know you touched on it with one of your cases earlier, but we knew a mom that ended up basically having to lose
her home that she was in due to some child-on-child sexual abuse. Mom ends up homeless. She goes to a shelter. Shelter will only let them stay for 5 days. Mom then says, I can be homeless, but I don't want my child to be homeless. And so we had to work really closely. We were able to secure temporary, unofficial, like guardianship, whatever, for the child for 60 days. And then from there, once mom did decide to go into a program, again, mom's trying to be proactive and do the things to not have DCF involvement. We learned of a program that's here in Hillsborough County that I had known nothing about, and a lot of our child welfare professionals knew nothing about. Law enforcement wasn't familiar with them. No, it was not Safe Families, and I'll tell you the problem with that. It was actually Hope Children's Home in Hillsborough County, and I have huge respect after being like on their campus, watching the children thrive. And again, that was before DCF involvement, where the child could stay for up to a year while mom was getting help and getting healthy herself. So we've seen that. So again, I think we have to look for some creative solutions. But if we had had, even in that 30 days, 60 days, whatever, a way to stabilize mom so that she didn't even have to do the guardianship in the first place, and had known of some of these resources, I think it would have been a lot more trauma-informed for mom and for the child to be able to do that, or have that emergency space for mom to go to while we do all that planning and research to find the next best step, and then hopefully prevent the child from ever even ending up in foster care.
I would love to see us do a little bit more research on that and see.
Hold, microphone. Microphone. You have to get closer to the microphone.
No, I just said I think I would love for us to do more research on that and see if there's any way we can help fill that gap, because it's been an issue forever, along with the pet issue.
I do have to correct myself because I went and read from the board's recap. So the after every board BOCC board meeting, the agenda is recapped. So for the item, the staff report, item G4, it says, receive a report regarding the Commission on Human Trafficking data-supported budget funding request for fiscal year 26. The board approved option 4 as presented to approve additional recurring and one-time general revenue funding totaling $500,000 to address the Commission on Human Trafficking's request for FY26 as follows. A is $267,000 of recurring general revenue funding. B, $100,000 of one-time carryover general revenue funding from FY25. And C, $133,000 of additional one-time general revenue funding. So it is only the 100,000.
Not the 200.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but you do have 133,000 plus the 267 that can be allocated towards the other priorities. Because there are other priorities other than those three things that were identified in the staff report. So even though it's the trauma-informed foster training and survivor support, the anti-human trafficking campaign, and emergency housing that are mentioned as the three in the staff report, there are other things as outlined in the summary that's in your packet of the strategic plan. So you still have other funding to other priorities you can make. And if you like, I can move on to the staff report, because some of these things are covered in the staff report if the current discussion has come to a conclusion.
Yeah, I would think so. Yes, absolutely, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Move on to
Yeah,
the staff
having
report,
discussion
please.
amongst yourselves.
Thank you.
But the mic was on, so you could hear us.
Yes, thank you. Staff report.
Okay, thank you. So at the request of the commission, I have inquired as to what we need to do to update the webpage of the Commission on Human Trafficking. I still have a little more research to do to see where human trafficking shows up across all of Hillsborough County's website, but specifically to the page, it was suggested that a compilation of what content would like to be seen on that page, you would all like to have included, and then I can run that through the web team and the board clerk, and hopefully receive approval on what it is you'd like to see on the page.
How long do you anticipate that process to take? Any idea?
No, I would like to say, but I do not
Okay.
have a timeline.
Then Chair Rose, committee, I think it might be appropriate to put together a small little group, a subcommittee to determine what kind of content
Yeah.
you might want on that site. So, do I need to make a motion to
Well,
have us
yes,
form
I
a
mean,
subcommittee?
yes, yes.
Okay, I make a motion for us to form a subcommittee to determine the content to go on the website, the county website.
That was from, thank you, Captain.
Okay. So we have a first and a second. Chair, go.
All in favor of creating a subcommittee for the content for the website? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.
So as not to put anyone on the spot, I will send out an email to everyone looking to see who can serve, open to yourselves, your alternates, who, anyone on the commission who would like to serve. There won't be any voting in this subcommittee on content. It'll all be just suggestions made to the steering committee. So it does not have to be in person. It can be online. It could be through Teams or Zoom, and that way it makes it a lot more convenient for people to participate. Meetings will still be open to the public. It is still a sunshine law, but it doesn't have to be in person because the voting will not be taking place.
Thank you.
Okay. The next thing, actually, Chair Rose did a great job in talking about the budget, because that was the next thing on my staff report, was to go over the budget. So thank you very much. There is one thing I would like to report, since we still are in fiscal year 25. Thanks to the work of everyone that was mentioned previously, we did not have to spend $32,000 on a conference for the legal training, because it was provided free of charge, and so there will be $32,531.22 returned to the taxpayers of Hillsborough County in the form of the general fund budget of the county. So the county administrator will put that to whatever the priorities are within the budget where it's needed. Let's see, so that was covered. The other budget-related activities that are in the budget book, which is available to anyone who wants to see it, you just put into your Google machine or browser of choice, Hillsborough County fiscal year 26 budget, and there'll be a link there to Management and Budget's webpage. The Crisis Center funding continues for the 2 positions that are recommended by the Commission on Human Trafficking. So those positions, while not identified in what was talked about before, that funding continues into fiscal year 26. Code enforcement is including intensifying monitoring of regulated establishments to verify compliance with human trafficking signage requirements. So that's a nice bonus. The state attorney also mentions human trafficking in their budget section of the Hillsborough County budget. It says, among other efforts, the sexual assault response team to participate at informative forums and educating the community in such areas as area resources for special victims, domestic violence, sexual assault victims, and human trafficking. So we've got our partners out there working on human trafficking efforts as well. The last thing I have, is a membership update. We already mentioned Gina Justice, who has taken a position with the U.S. Court of International Trade. I just like saying that. It is a big job, and they had a piece on her in the Tampa Bay Times. So if you hadn't had a chance to read that, you might want to read that. Her position has not yet been filled. I have some unfortunate news about the Hillsborough County Hotel and Motel Association. Ms. Mogan Yecke sent an email to me, and I forwarded on to our chair and vice chair. Due to personal and professional reasons, she has decided to step back. She wrote a very beautiful email supporting the efforts and still, doing what she can. Mr. Rice, who is her alternate, has moved from the Tampa Bay market to the Pinellas County market, so he's no longer a member of the Hillsborough County Hotel Motel Association. So I will be reaching out to Mr. Morrison to fill those two positions as soon as possible. Tampa Police Department has not yet named a primary member, although, as we know, that alternate member Aguiar is at every meeting and is a valued voice here in this at these meetings. And the Temple Terrace Police Department, as we know, because Corporal Sablan received a certificate of appreciation, is welcoming Detective Lauren Kelly as their alternate member. So I'm sure Captain Carlisle will bring Detective Kelly to a meeting. She can watch this meeting and hear her name mentioned. So we look forward to meeting Detective Kelly. There are still some applications that I have not received for the renewal of membership, and I need to have those by tomorrow, close of business at the latest. I've extended this deadline a few times. It was Monday, then it was today. I was told I can wait until tomorrow, but if I do not receive an application from a member who wishes to return by tomorrow, they will not be on the October 15th Board of County Commissioners agenda for confirmation. That risks having that member not be able to vote at a future meeting. So please have your applications into me by tomorrow, close of business. The last thing I'd like to mention is the Public Awareness Project, which everybody is wondering about. There is movement, trust me.
Good.
If you drive down Scott Street, you will see that FDOT has staked out where the pillars will be installed. So they're doing their part. They have also sent a draft maintenance agreement to us for review.
Okay.
So that is in the hands of the Public Works Director, and she'll be speaking with the executive team and reviewing that maintenance agreement. So things are moving along. It's just taking longer than expected.
Is it hopeful that perhaps the muralist, the artist, can start painting in January during Human
Yes.
Trafficking Awareness Month?
As a matter of fact, that's when she has identified a window of time. If we
Okay.
can get the maintenance agreement approved,
Good.
and FDOT is, a green light, then she can start painting December, January. Obviously after hurricane season and when the weather gets a little drier.
Right. And then I guess we could talk about how to raise awareness to her painting. Well, we'll talk about that at the next meeting.
Once it's done, in January.
But it'll be here.
Yeah, I know.
It'll
Before
be
you
here
know it.
before we know it. And, to have the community aware that we're doing this, part of the awareness.
Sure.
Anyway, we can talk about that later. Rob?
I'll put it on the steering committee agenda.
Perfect.
Just an outside observation. the original program was supposed to actually paint on the columns for the overpass. The new model actually has her painting on essentially obelisks that will be put on the ground. In theory, she could do that in a safe and secure environment in her own studio. No?
Sorry, no, they're concrete. They're concrete, and they're going to be installed in the right-of-way. So, yeah, to have FDOT deliver those to her home in Hudson would be a little hard.
Okay, I missed a couple meetings, and I saw one example, and they look to be possibly aluminum obelisks.
No, they're, I believe they're concrete.
They are concrete? They're definitely concrete?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe
Yeah,
so.
Leah's-
I'd have to verify that.
She's strong, but I don't know if she'd want to be hauling around these concrete.
Just looking for ways to save some money.
I appreciate that,
There were
yes.
security costs as well.
However, one of the things that we talked about when we were originally having this awareness campaign conversation was that either during the painting of the murals and/or when they were completed and we had a press conference. So we were going to create this whole campaign around it. If we're looking at January and we are now at the end of September, right, before we know it, it's going to be here. So, yeah, I think that it would be in our best interest to start having that conversation of what is it going to look like? What do we want? Like, if we can create anything, do we want a press conference? Who do we want to invite? How big do we want, to make this so that we can start reaching out? Because January, for a lot of us, January gets pretty booked up. And it doesn't mean that we're all going to be in town. A lot of us travel out of town for Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So maybe at the steering committee meeting is maybe, well, I won't be here, but
Lisa said she'd put it, what is the date of our steering committee meeting?
October 23rd. I'm out of town.
I am too.
The steering committee is October 23rd, I believe.
October 23rd, 2025, 24th floor conference room.
Yes. So we're both out of town, just so you know.
Board of Massage hearings for me, I can't get out of those in Daytona.
Chair Klug has said that he will be present at the October meeting, so since he's vice chair, he'll be acting chair for that meeting.
Okay. Sorry.
I'll let him know.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. So if worse comes to worse and nothing happens during the steering committee, we're going to put it on the table that in November, let's start having that conversation of what it would look like to really create a phenomenal press conference awareness event, around the unveiling of this project that's been, 2 years in the making.
With your mentioning that neither of you will be at the October meeting, as we have done in the past, you can work up comments, and I will read them into the record for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So we are at new and old business at this point.
Does anybody have, I guess, either new or, and I don't know what mine fall under, if it's new or old, but I guess we lump them together. I wanted to bring up the tip line that we are using. We're using Tampa Police Department's tip line, correct? We're still using that number? Okay. Okay. I was wondering if we could get some kind of quarterly report of how many tips come in, just because we were kind of under the gun, to get it into the report for the Board of County Commissioners. So if we could have a quarterly report, so we have that information at our fingertips. I don't know who we need to contact, or, okay, Detective, you're
You
it.
can contact me.
Okay.
I could put the request in. We have an analyst that specifically deals with that, and I could just ask her to complete a quarterly report.
Okay, perfect. And that would go to
Lisa.
Ms. Monteleone, okay.
Yes.
And I can put it on as appropriate, the quarterly agenda. I'll work with the detective to figure out a date. That
Okay.
would be a consistent time.
Okay, okay, I have a couple other things as well. I want to bring up what I think is the necessity of having a social media presence. Now, I know we've had this discussion before, But if we are going to really do this awareness, I don't see how we can be, we would just be much more effective if we had some kind of social media presence, so the community knows what we're doing. And I know we've talked about it before. I don't know all the ins and outs of why we don't have one, but I'm wondering if we could bring the appropriate entities to the table to talk about why or why not can or cannot have a social media presence. So I guess I just have a clearer understanding of why we have not been able to do that.
As I've mentioned previously, this is a board created by the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners.
Correct.
As a board, and council is the category under which it falls, Communications Department of Hillsborough County does not support boards and councils' activities. To effectuate having a social media presence is a question that will have to be looked into on a variety of levels, and even I'd probably have to engage the services of our wonderful legal department to investigate the ramifications, liabilities, risks, everything associated with social media operated for a Hillsborough County board that would be operated by an outside entity. So hypothetically, if you were to hire someone through the advertising, marketing, awareness campaign funding you have, what does that look like? And what liability or risk is, which is what we're usually looking at when we do something like this. Social media is a big bear. So I'll have to get back to you on that one after Attorney Cromartie Mincy and I have a discussion.
Okay, so if we could bring those entities together just so we have a better understanding of why or why not, and I've used it before, the Commission on the Status of Women, which is a government board from Hillsborough County, we have a social media.
But we've discussed that.
We have discussed it before. That's why, yes, I just want clarity.
And just for the general public who might be watching, the reason for that is that the Commission on the Status of Women has a entity, has a nonprofit.
Friends of the Commission on the
Friends
Status of
of the
Women.
Commission on the Status of Women, with an executive director who is under contract and paid for their services. So you, as a Commission on the Status of Women, have an entity that is able to raise funds, receive funds, hold your annual awards banquet, and do things of that nature. The Commission on Human Trafficking does not have one of those entities.
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm really bad at poker face. So that's something else to look into, again, with the legal department, to see if that's a road you want to go down and form an entity that would require a motion and vote
Yes.
of this board.
Of course.
You might want to explore that more at a steering committee level and bring that back, so it gives us time to, talk, develop a staff report, and research how we can go about doing that. Pet Resources is another one. So Pet Resources has an entity called the Friends of Pet Resources, Hillsborough County Pet Resource, and they operate much in the same way Commission on the Status of Women does with their entity. So, Pet Resources is able to get donations and receive funds through that separate nonprofit that holds fundraising activities for them. So and they also have social media, but they're a department of Hillsborough County. So Communications does the social media for Pet Resources.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to open up that discussion and just explore it more and maybe put it to rest one way or the other, because, I've brought it up so many
Oh,
times.
yeah, I'm supportive of the effort. I think it's a great idea, and people would be more educated, and the awareness could travel further with a social media presence.
Right, exactly.
I'm just limited in what I can do as a staff member without
Understood.
running things up the flagpole.
Understood. Just one more thing, and then I'll be quiet. I think it's important too, and this can go along with, what we decide to do with the awareness piece of it, but collateral material for an awareness campaign. When a lot of us are out in the community, what kind of material can we have, a brochure or just whatever, to better promote the work of the commission. So I just wanted to pose that question too, that some kind of collateral.
That's an easy one.
PR material.
Because you do have the budget, so it would, again, be a motion and vote to support, again, fleshing it out at the steering committee and then bringing it back here. But you can set aside funds in your budget. We have a copy center, print center. We can work up, personally, me and anybody who wants to help, who's good at that sort of thing, can work up materials. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because we have free materials on a national level supplied by the Department of Homeland Security, which I have on the table behind me.
But it's not our branding.
It's not our branding, but it is information, and it doesn't do any good sitting in a file cabinet in my office. So please, on your way out, take some of these materials with you. The cards, they're plastic cards with information. They are in, I think, 7 or 8 different languages. So feel free to take those in the languages that you think would be helpful.
All right, that's it.
Well, so what we were thinking along the lines of, and several organizations, have this, is like the front of it, and I had one, I mocked one up, and of course I left it at home on my desk, so I apologize. But it was basically using Don't Buy It Tampa Bay, right, and then using our logo and just using, one of the billboards. And that was on the front, along with Lisa's contact information and our mission statement. And then on the back of it was red flags, things to look for, and then the tip number. So I'll bring it to the steering committee meeting or send it to Lisa, to send out. And then if anybody wants to create something, and then we could just go from there. And it doesn't have to be where you have to carry all this stuff around, but just a little pocket card, even just to get us started for some kind of a little awareness piece to carry around with us. So, great. Any more on awareness events or anything like that? Then I would just like to share, as we're moving forward, I have been out visiting some of the different commissioners, which has been very exciting, right? And really gathering from them, what are some of the gaps, what are some of the needs, what are some of the things that they would like to see, et cetera. And also shared with them that back when this commission was being established, one of the things that Commissioner Overman did, along with Redefining Refuge, because Natasha put the tour together, is that there was literally a tour that was put together. And what we did, along with all the commissioners and several key members and service providers, is that we got in this little bus, Heart, or Sunshine, at the little short bus, and we all got in there, and we traveled around the county to the different hot spots, et cetera, and showed them, where it's occurring. But during that, we also had a very robust conversation, because training for me is about conversations, and it was, what is human trafficking? What does it look like? How does it occur? Okay, here's this hotel. Look what you're seeing. Now look, really pay attention. Here's the children That's why this is occurring here in this section. Now, if we go over here, say Nebraska, see how the landscape has changed. This is why it's occurring this way here. So we were able to really use it as a multifaceted, so it was a training as well as this is what it looks like, this is how it happens, and even going into neighborhoods. So it wasn't just about the motels, et cetera, right? It was even going into neighborhoods by schools, et cetera. So we'd like to put that on the table of creating a tour again to be able to take the commissioners out, of course, on their schedules, et cetera. So what do you all think about inviting the commissioners and taking them on a tour and doing a little mini HT 101? Well, Commissioner Cepeda, what do you think?
Yes, and how many commissioners did you talk to all the commissioners about that?
I didn't talk to all of them, but I talked to a couple of them,
Yeah.
particularly on that subject.
I mean, definitely, if they would like to do that, yes, that would be good if they could. And you want them all at one time? All at the same time?
That's what we did the last time. That's what we did
Okay.
last time. Everybody,
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
interesting,
if
and it was
you
great.
give enough notice, for sure, yeah.
So I'm not sure how that was accomplished last time. And for this reason, I'm going to call on the county attorney here, because all meetings of the commission, the Board of County Commissioners, and the Commission on Human Trafficking are under the Sunshine Law. And under the Sunshine Law, meetings have to be accessible to the public. So on that bus, there has to be room for anyone who wants, from the public, who wants to attend. So.
We can certainly talk about
Microphone.
it. Am I on?
Yes.
We can certainly talk about it and try to figure that out. I know that there is a way for it to happen. We would just need to know kind of what's the idea, and we can certainly talk about that.
And while we're on the topic of county commissioners, I think it would be great to recognize, you had alluded to it earlier about the commissioners who had supported the request and spoke during the meeting. So a shout out, thank you to Commissioner Wustel, to Commissioner Bowles, to Commissioner Harry Cohen, and the others who had spoken on that day in support of the work of Commissioner Cameron Cepeda and the work here of the other commissioners.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And then one last item is Commissioner Myers, and I believe also Commissioner Bowles, but in speaking with Commissioner Myers, she has a newsletter. And she welcomed for the Commission on Human Trafficking to start offering an article in her newsletter. Yes. So she said it could, I said, well, what do you think about quarterly? And she's like, whatever you would like to do. So I'd like to put that on the table if that is something that we would like to do as a commission. We could I could do the first one, we can kind of like share, maybe someone might have something that, is happening, whether it's like it's a conference or like Misty had shared an incredible training a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago and shared that with us, whatever it might be. But anything that has to do with human trafficking, whether it's in our own backyard or nationally, she would love for that to go into the newsletter and then go back out. And possibly maybe we could reach out to Commissioner Bowles and if there's any other commissioners that also have a newsletter. But just wanted to let you know that. And that is all that I have as far as new business is concerned. Does anyone have anything for new business or old business that you would like to bring to our attention?
I just have a question. It's Rosa Webster again. If we do decide to go with the newsletter, could that be a venue for publicizing the unveiling in January and a means? Could we use that as a means, although it's something that wouldn't be paid for? Is that a venue that would be acceptable for the board to use to be able to get that word out to the community?
Yes, Rob.
I can tell you that I have used Commissioner Myers' newsletter before for events like that, and she's been very willing to send that message out. And I'd also like to add that it has a very broad distribution. And Connie, I'll send you a recent version of that just so you'll have an idea. But she's done it for us in the past.
One other thing that I would just like to quickly touch base on, if you haven't already heard, is that the human trafficking hotline number is no longer under Polaris. It has now moved under an organization out of Texas, which is called the Compass Connections. We are not really sure what that is going to look like. This has just recently happened. But I just wanted to make you all aware of it. It is still going to be up and running. We just don't know exactly what does that mean, what kind of services and resources will be provided. But the National Human Trafficking Hotline number has been moved from Polaris out of Washington, D.C. To an organization, again, which is called Compass Connections out of Texas.
But it's still the same number.
But it is still the same number. It is still the same number, yes. So just wanted you to be aware of that.
So we've talked a lot today about flyers and newsletters and social media and websites. What we're really talking about is marketing, right? We've already made a motion to elect a steering committee to talk about the website. Do we need to change that motion to reflect that it wouldn't be just a steering committee to talk about the website, it would be a steering committee to talk about marketing for this committee?
I don't think it requires a motion, Captain, but you usually always attend the steering committee meetings, and it could be just brought up. I'll put it on the agenda, and we could just talk about it. I mean, I don't think that the reason why I asked for a motion about the social media is because I have to engage the legal department and other departments at the county to explore that specifically.
Okay.
But the marketing campaign and elements of it can be a discussion at the steering committee, just as an agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for bringing it up.
And I'm even thinking, even that subcommittee that we put together, I mean, I think that could kind of all fall under that. So, yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Does anyone have any new or old business? Anyone like to motion to end the meeting? Yeah, state your name first, please.
Second.
Second. All in favor to end the meeting?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you so much for a great meeting, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.